Barry Access with remote location, the Queen, Goddess, the Most High, Queen Mama Ro. What's up, Goddess? What's poppin'?
Nothing much, family.
I need to touch you. I need to, get to you. What's happening?
Hey, this is social distancing. Hey.
This is social this is a social distancing episode that we about to flex on y'all right quick. You know what I mean?
Right on. How's this going for you, Barry?
I'm good. I'm solid. You know what I mean? I think this is crazy. You know what is crazy? Because I probably would have never really rocked the Zoom joint. You know what I mean? But I was watching you do it, right? Then I was like, well, because I want to be a model of practicing the correct way of how we need to operate in this moment. So I think that it would have just been kind of disrespectful in a way of being a hypocrite if I was just with you right now and we're standing side by side with each other and I'm still telling folks stay inside or, don't do whatever you got to do, but do it in a cautious perspective. That I was like, you know what? I've been watching you do your remote joint. Shouts out to Earth Mama Healing, all the new shows that you got popping. Salute to you. I said, well, let me see if me and my sis could do this. I think that it gravitates, it helps, it elevates, it keeps us both in our comfortable zones. And, because we don't know enough about this virus, but what we know, that it makes sure that we keep each other out of harm's way.
Right on, Barry. Right on. You're so true. You're so true. What has been your response to this virus? Have you talked to people? Are people scared out of their wits? Some people going on like it is like everybody got people got the flu. Some of us think we partying, we at the beach. Some of us watch too many sci-fi movies and think this shit is Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome. I don't know.
Listen,
I'll work on my water.
I think that, hold on, let me, I got to make sure that we get some folks up in here. You know what I mean? Do the little, got to do the watch party. Hold up.
Go right ahead, bro.
Let me get to this. What you drink? What you got going? You drinking or something?
I drink 2 of these a day, y'all. That's my goal every day, to drink 2 of these, as well as just drinking water. But I try to get those in the morning because I'm trying to keep my system together and, talking to my health gurus. Huh?
You're not trying to fall apart?
No, I'm just trying to hydrate myself because, the same health issues I had before don't go away because the virus showed up. Yeah,
before we jump into that, I got to give peace to our ancestor that just passed away, Dr. Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, why don't you break that down a little bit, Queen?
So Dr. Africa was a brother who did a lot of holistic health, period. He has a few books. I have one of his books. The only book I think I really have by his, honestly, is him breaking down how healthcare works. I mean, your health system and being able to eat clean and right. And also he connects that to your mental mindset and food. And I mean, he was brilliant. And when people like that leave the planet at this, I think it's ironic that he passed away during this beginning of this so-called outbreak. And I'm saying so-called because I think people knew about this. I heard that coronavirus has been around for a minute, but it's a whole other story. Now we got to rely on these giants for their knowledge. So if you don't have his book, you should get it somehow, because this is the period where you should be using that book as somewhat like a Bible for your health and wellness, so you could stay healthy during this time. I just know that, they talked about washing your hands and stuff like that. If you know anything about old school people, they always wash their hands. They always did certain things. But because we be in this new age, ain't nobody like us, our generation is different. Now you happen to go back to the masters and get the very basic knowledge of what to do, which is so unnecessary. If you just had to wash your goddamn hands, cover your mouth when you cough.
So you think that a lot of this could have been prevented? A lot of this right here?
I think so. When we're talking about germ warfare, and I'm saying germ because black folks, particularly in America, because that's the history I know about probably the most, even though I know a lot of those stuff, there's always been some kind of warfare, germ warfare on black people, but we tend to always survive. But I think it's because we may not have had all the so-called education, but what our ancestors did have was common sense about washing your hands, eating healthy, eating of the earth, stuff like that. They knew that. We somehow like to think because we got some new technology that we don't have to do those very basic things. It's like we'll be the person who drink a germ and be like, oh, I'm the new Negro. It's not going to affect me the way it did you back in 1920. And now everybody falling the hell out because it's still a germ. It was a germ in 1920 and it's a germ in 2020. So, but because we don't want to seek counsel from the elders and grace like a Dr. Africa, here we are right now. So, scrambling and being fearful.
That was a huge loss.
That really was huge.
You know, Dr. Sebi, and then you got Dr. Africa. I remember meeting him a few years back when he came to Sacramento, and I don't think that you really understand the kind of work that this brother was doing. And a lot of the teachings and a lot of the health ideas that he is speaking on for Black America, I think shows and proves to right now. And I think that for me, you know, going out and just thinking about an ancestor that passed away, that was so wasn't known by a lot, but for those who are constantly pushing to find other methods and ways besides the European ideology of medicine and health, you'll know about Dr. Africa. So he wasn't as well known as other doctors that we've had or physicians in that nature, but his timeless and valuable works, I think now you're going to see folks really step into that a lot more because of the times that we're in. So it's very interesting how, like you said, he passes away during this pandemic that we're dealing with. And now going back to what you asked me earlier, I'm calm. I'm calm. I'm good. I feel great. I'm in good health. Just got done doing some valuable work this past weekend, selling plates to the community for those who I know are tired of making their own food. Constantly having to be the chef, the mom, the father, the auntie, the uncle, the brother, the sister, the teacher, you know what I'm saying, the security, or the games person, everything in between. You know, I think that when you have folks that have the ability to go ahead and, deliver, make some good foods, people appreciate that, as well as me and my brothers, the 3 Black chefs. We will be starting to do our free food component where we're going to be serving our community from 3 to 7 over there in the Meadowview area, and just telling family, come get your food, just have a relaxed moment, not necessarily saying you have to stay here, but picking up the food, bringing it back there. We'll be doing that this Thursday and Friday as well as the next week as well, because we know how people are impacted with the fact that they're really having to decide right now, is it going to be food or is it going to be bills? And I think that because our people are in such distress, for myself, for you, when individuals do talk to me and do speak to me, all I'm doing is speaking life, truth to power. Of course, we're going to identify the enemy for what the enemy is and what the enemy is doing and what the system it is, but it's also a time to teach and elevate and lift and inspire. And when I say inspire, I'm not trying to tell anybody that we're going to have the end of the world coming right now. I believe this is the beginning of some new and great opportunities.
I agree.
I'm not speaking that third world, this is going to happen, the conspiracies and all that. Though I am telling folks to be prepared, be very prepared and be very aware of what's going on. Have your walkie-talkies, have your lanterns, have your flashlights, have your revolver, maybe 1 or 2 if you don't have it. Take some money out the bank. You get what I'm saying? Have an emergency card, have some emergency places just in case the internet crashes and we can't communicate. Figure out who are your go-to folks, as we talked about on our last episode. Have those things together, but also don't fall yourself into this fright and a panic. We've been in places like this before. This is unprecedented, but at the same particular time, we've seen some of the works of how the system operates. This just, to me, is on steroids. And I say that by saying everything that could distract us before is not able to distract us right now. So it's a clear vision and a clear idea of what can you do in this space. And I love the simple fact that people a lot of builders, a lot of entertainers, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of creators are taking the time to do. So I saw DJ D Nice coming out
That's
of
right.
nowhere.
D Nice. I love D Nice. I've always loved D Nice from back when he was in KRS-One. Why are you playing?
Listen, now you already know he's preparing himself to get a few checks because nobody was checking for D Nice. All right, nobody was checking for D Nice. I don't want nobody to sit there and be like, "Oh yeah, I listen to D Nice." The hip hop heads who know hip hop was, because D Nice was always
right on.
He was always overshadowed by KRS-One.
But see, he was taking out suckers, but they don't know how he did it.
Exactly, like right. They call me D Nice. So when you have great, talented individuals that are seizing the opportunity. So my thing is, like, seize the opportunity. You now have DJ D Nice as now a household name as far as in our culture. Though he's been working and doing his thing, he's now become more of a household name just in that moment of going viral by doing that DJ quarantine homeschool party that's now inspired other DJs and other individuals.
Right.
Anthony Hamilton did something as he did his, did a concert on IG. It's still allowing folks to connect, because it is what I think folks are now realizing socially, how much we are connected, and socially how much we really need each other. As many folks would love to say, I don't need anybody, you're starting to find out how much we really need each other. Right, and I think that's sometimes a good thing.
I do too. I just want to say, not ditto. We know as black folks, music, that's us. We're going to always figure out a way to celebrate, to dance, to love each other. But I also think during this time, Barry, because there's so many different facets, like I'm going to be giving updates. I'm going to do a lot of different interviews. But my homegirl, Javon, who is a clinic administrator who runs several clinics in southern Louisiana.
Real quick, shouts out to Javon. I see you, girl. I heard about the death of your cousin. My blessings to your family as y'all get through this rough time. So please and thank you for continue to do the work even in these moments of death in your family. Shouts out to Queen.
Right on. Thank you, Barry, for even recognizing that. There's also a video of her cousin when that white man in her store tried to comfort Javon and snatch the money. He was the dude who bum rushed the dude because he was just sitting there having a burger. So, we definitely lost the warrior. That was him. So we definitely lost the warrior. So,
that was him.
That was him. So you just, like, wow, when you lose a good soldier like that, you're like, man, you feel it's felt, it's felt. But Javon is talking about, even in the healthcare field, having to do battle with people who don't want poor people, particularly black people, not to get these tests, not to get the services that they need. So even though we are in this so-called crisis, for some people, this is the crisis every day you need to take care of your own. And so it doesn't stop. When people think there's scarcity, we're going to get the last of everything. So we're still on the battlefield. It's just, and now it's more intense because now we're in the middle of a crisis. So, Javon's been giving me updates on different things. Like, she was even sharing with me because she's in the middle of a crisis. Prevention and knowing information really helps. She talked about how the coronavirus can live on your hair.
So I got to cut my dreads off? What are we talking about?
No, to cover it up. So she was saying, Ro, I noticed that you wear your hair covered like almost every day, which I do unless I'm home or whatever. She would say, like, that's why people cover their hair or, just little stuff. And so, or we think about if elders are at risk, so are babies, because their immune system is just developing as well. And so are pregnant women, because when you're pregnant, your immune system goes down. Because you're carrying it life. See, stuff like that.
Asthmatic like myself.
Yeah. Right, but we talk about people with chronic diseases, but I'm talking about, like, when we're thinking about, it's just the older people. But if you think of babies and elders, they're really in the same category. Because they're both, like, when you're a baby, you're just developing that system. So I have her coming on at the end of this week. I got Sister Satu Hall, who is a midwife who works in the Bay Area. They're going to come and bring me some updates. And I know some other doctors, black doctors, who are in the middle of this, and they're going to bring us some information the way we understand it. See, the other thing when you're in a crisis and people are giving you information, with black folks, you got to break it down to where we could hear it.
You're right.
that language piece is so crucial because, you know, Big Mama do tell you to wash your hands, but then we also put our hands in our face, and I'm guilty of that myself. I am, because I talk a lot with my hands. So, you know, just thinking about things that we can really do. And Barry, with the social distancing, can black people really do social distancing?
Ooh, we finding out that we really can't. We're finding out that we really can't.
You said, ooh.
Seriously. And you know, and here's the thing that I think that a lot of us find so perplexed. I'm totally anti-government in so many different ways, forms, fashions, right?
Right.
But I'm not ignorant to not believe that there's something going on. Italy has a crisis going on that it could look like us. We can mirror that crisis, because from what I know from right now with the statistics, we're close to 50,000. We're close to 50,000 that have the virus. And I know that we have 500 plus deaths currently in the USA from the virus. Now, let's say that, they could be screwing up the numbers. This ain't really nothing. All right, well, let's say it's nothing. But I do understand the economic impact. Schools are closed. Churches are closed. Malls are closed. The airline industry is taking a hit. Wall Street continues to topple down, right? Sports activities from all angles, from the non-paid to the big buck sports, like basketball, the NCAA, that make a lot of money in this time period because all eyes are on them. They have been all shut down. Vegas is taking a hit.
Oh, they closed all the slot machines.
Niggas ain't going to the slot machines. You can't bet. So what I do know is that if, let's say, this virus was a hoax, whatever they're trying to do to get our attention, my attention is anything that could be a distraction to us, that usually is, like going to the bar, saying, hey, I'm going to have some dinner with my friend. I'm going to take my kids to the babysitter to get these mother effers away from me. You can't do that. So the reality to what we're dealing with is we're not only dealing with the health crisis, we're dealing with a social crisis as well as an economic crisis. So if we're talking about this is all but a figure of our imagination, I understand and recognize how things have become a domino effect, because as we know about a system of America, usually they like to target a certain group, an individual, but they ain't trying to have the domino effect affect everyone like this. Not at this one particular time. And that's what I see has happened. Whether it was made in China, whether it was made in America, the target was supposed to be where it was supposed to be, and it wasn't supposed to rapidly flow into all extremes, especially knocking the American economy. Let's remember 9/11. A few weeks of us chilling, but Vegas was still popping. Schools were still open, unless you were in New York. It didn't have a ripple effect here in California to that angle. We were just on like alert that it could happen to us. But remember, things were gradually recession. Ain't no sports events stopped during the recession. Schools were still going on. People were impacted, but the world did not stop according to the recession. Right now, something that I think the Americans and people need to know, what we hold as our highest degree of look at us as our economy and what we can outpour. Because remember, NBA basketball is an international sport. You know what I'm talking about? You have, even let's look at a sport like wrestling, WrestleMania events. You have international people coming in. When you are not able to have your tourism dollars, Frisco shut down, New York shut down, Miami, well, we'll talk about that later. Atlanta shut down. All of these tourist capitals are not able to generate money. That affects the American economy. So if I know one thing, I know America loves money. And when the money is being screwed up, trust and believe this thing is something that they were not prepared for, that if they were doing a target, they were targeting a certain kind of group or individual, and it's just like crack cocaine, just like everything else that they've conspired from their laboratories. It's spun out of control. But this time, I believe it's affecting everything that could distract us at this particular
Well, only time will tell. I feel like the Jetsons, because I'm a sci-fier. So when you look at stuff, even growing up watching the Jetsons, you wonder to yourself, how will we ever get to see something like the Jetsons, where you're going to school by looking at a screen and your teacher's teaching you. If anybody grew up watching the Jetsons, if anybody grew up watching anything to do with sci-fi, we look at those shows and it's supposed to be futuristic. Well, now we're in those times. And so I think sometimes, because most of us aren't history people and we don't necessarily study or research, we don't even know things when they're coming. Like we just don't even know that this is what's happening. So even with this thing, because I'm also doing a lot of work with kids in school, making sure they get their work, I'm also helping some professionals get into this technology and how to use Zoom and all these other social outlets to be able to do appointments and check in on people who are using the technology, and everything from basic how to do FaceTime and stuff like that with your students and making sure they got their packets. And I'm working to do all of that. And it's amazing how a lot of our young people, this is where we have to check ourselves as a community and as a people. And I'm just doing it in general, even though this really comes down to you as a parent and what you made a priority in your life. So if your kid has the right to tape a fight, they should know how to log in.
Yeah.
See, stuff like that. So now we're going to really see how much we have allowed ourselves to be distracted by not teaching our children how to use this social media, because what's going to happen is, or all of this technology, because if you remember watching Mad Max, so I watched all the Mad Maxes.
Oh man,
there were people.
One of my favorite movie series ever.
Me too. If you watch it, you notice there were people who lived in the sewer and who were like these underclass people, and you wonder, how do we ever get? Is that real? Because that was a movie, but I can so see it, because if you don't understand technology, you will get left out. You would just get rolled over, and that's what this is a test of that time too. Like we all have technology. You have most of the kids. I know poor people who got a smartphone or an iPhone, but can't get their kids packets for homework. I don't understand that.
Crazy, right?
Right.
I think that when you talk about Mad Max and you talk about like Walking Dead and all these different sci-fi shows, and the coming of what the beginning of that sometimes plays into the mindset of what we are facing right now. But I have too much faith, and I think there's too much time on the clock, and there's too much to be done for it all to collapse just like this. Now, there's certain things that have to collapse, and I think that we should be celebrating that. We should be honoring the dismantling of, what we've seen be in power for so long. So I think sometimes when we're looking at this thing, instead of being, obviously the one thing that we're in fear of is catching the virus and the uncertainty of being treated in a way where we will be able to survive from that virus, right? I say that because folks got to all remember, not necessarily the virus is a bigger issue. It's all the other existing conditions and all the other existing emergencies that we will have. I can still break my arm. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You could still get into a car accident.
Right.
People are still getting shot. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
People are still having babies. There's some great things that are happening as well. But if you have a hospital that is congested with a bunch of sick people, you're just going to have a bunch of more sick people. And if people cannot be treated, the amount of people we're going to lose just for the certain emergencies that we usually have in this world, in America by itself, it's going to speak volumes to what our healthcare looks like. And I think this is a perfect evaluation of our healthcare system and how wrong it is, how bad it was to strip Obamacare the way it was stripped, how bad it is that we don't have more medical facilities that will be able to deal with certain things like this, how bad it is that Bill Gates basically told all of us, Bill Gates, who has the patent for, I want to say, the coronavirus, as well as the place that they were doing the testing, and Bill Gates, who also is, for our conspiracy theorists that are watching, who is all about population control, right? Kind of said, hey, y'all, we're not even prepared if there was a pandemic to happen. He said that a few years ago, and now here we are. It speaks volumes to not only that black people. So imagine this, sis. We're talking about black people being prepared.
That's right.
Our own government wasn't prepared, or they were negligent to the fact thereof, right? So if and as we're watching how they've responded nationally to this emergency, which has been pathetic, imagine how their response is, and you're thinking about what black people are. Oh, we're in trouble. And it shows that we're in trouble, because I know people complaining about teaching their kids, though they was crying about homeschooling, because, this right now is a time for every endeavor, every thought, any idea for you to roll the dice on it right now. Whatever kind of work you want to do with your child, do it right now. Whatever kind of counseling or breakdown in your relationship that you want to get done, do that right now, because I feel like that this is a bigger test moving forward with who are the builders and who are the complainers and who are just here just to survive, not strive.
So right on. So I agree with you, Barry. For me, I don't necessarily see it as like a bad thing. I think, a lot of us talk in military stances and generals, and we talk that mess, but we ain't never govern ourselves ever. Like, if you were a drug dealer, you weren't really governing yourself. I mean, you made a decision to sell poison and kill your people so you could survive. That's not you being in control of your nation. That's in you being in control of yourself. But I feel like this is the time all of us get put to our test. They say the greatest generation, I guess that was World War II, when people had to pull themselves together, and they were called the greatest generation for a reason. Because every generation had its test. And they didn't have all this technology that we had, but they figured out how to pull themselves together. I think with this generation, and I'm not talking about young, I'm talking about those of us who are living in this time, I think a lot of us are kind of lazy. And if we're sitting up here waiting for our government to help us, we deserve exactly what we get. Because none of the generations waited on the government. If all you could do is say our government didn't do this, do that, this is the government that sanctioned slavery. So how could we ever think that they're going to take care of us? But what I do know, Barry, is that no matter how hard things were for black people, we figured out how to take care of each other. And what I'm saying to those parents who are now struggling because their children that they created have to now be home with them, now you get to deal with your creation.
Yes.
And it ain't going to be easy, but we have more resources in this time, Barry, than we've ever had in history.
Yes,
we have more resources, so we can't even compare ourselves to our ancestors. We just can't. We just can't. Like, it's just like, dude, we don't know what it's like to be in a depression and have no food. No food. We have never been there, Barry. We had government cheese. We had the Wick eggs. We've had some shit. So it's just kind of like, I think when people say, it's like we get exposed to more stuff, but mentally, we're not as creative as those past generations because we're constantly being distracted with technology, but we're not utilizing the technology. You know what I mean? And that to me is a little troubling. And I'm not letting 45 and nobody else off the hook. But for my ancestry, my grandmother was deaf and mute. Okay, this is back in the early 1900s. My grandmother was born in 1906. So it really makes me think, how did she survive and have 12 children, 9 lived, and none of them ever got into trouble? All of them had good jobs. All of them brought their kids up. How did they do that and none of them went to college?
That's crazy.
No, I'm just saying in that time, they were all hard workers.
That's resilience.
Yeah, but my thing of it is, so what's our problem?
Well, I think that our problem is we've been too spoiled. And I think that, folks are really upset that they're at the house with the person that they claim that they love.
You say that again, Barry. You say it again. I'm about to flag you. Say that again.
These are the same people. Listen, these are the same people that was just complaining the other day that I want to spend more time at home. I hate being at my job. That are ready to get back to their job. The same people that were talking about how bad their schools are, they want to rush their kids back into the school. I think that this is really the reality kicking in because I aged myself out of going to the clubs all the time. I aged myself out of drinking all the time. And I don't even drink at all. Going to bars. And that's not speaking on that I'm better than anyone.
No, I get that.
But I had started my social distancing a long time ago.
Right
for
on.
as much as I'm in the community doing community work, I love myself enough to know I need time for me to rejuvenate, refresh, rebuild, reevaluate, so I can be better, stronger, and think faster, because I'm constantly being bombarded with different things that I have to do for the community. So my social distancing has been in effect. As much as people see me traveling, doing a lot of stuff, those times when it's time for me, I do it. But I think the reality that we have to now face is how we're so codependent on each other, and a lot of the social distractions that have just been taken away. Folks upset, not about the mall being closed to work. Folks are upset that they can't be at the mall to go shopping. You get what I'm talking about? Just imagine if Amazon crashed and they couldn't order stuff online. I think this is right now, really, for a lot of folks, really a time to check themselves, reevaluate themselves, as we said earlier, and really look at, well, why am I not financially prepared for a moment like this? See, me, and this is what I find out, it was very funny. A lot of the abolitionists and those folks that are yelling, abolish the government, dismantle the government, they ain't celebrating. I ain't seen too many people talk about it in a way to was like, good, let that shit go. They're kind of quiet. They ain't said too much or nothing. Why? Because they want that stimulus check. They want that stimulus check, package check. They want it. They need it.
And I'm not saying that folks shouldn't ask for it.
You should. But my reality is I'm not worried about it, because I've been centered into figuring out a way to do my own thing and be self-sufficient as much as I possibly can, because you kind of can see the wave of how America controls and swings back and forth, and I'd rather get it on my own. That's why I'm motivating my people to do for self, and I'm going to continue to inspire as much as I possibly can, but encourage my people to kind of walk into this shadow of darkness, because I need my people to understand this is the best time to support all Black takeout food businesses. Takeout businesses in a Black community, inside or outside. Best time to start making sure our people are okay, right? Let's get them to that level of the taquerias and the Asian restaurants, all of those that are pretty much closed. Let's get them, because they're working hard. This is a time for us to invest in our own. I believe this is one of the best times for Black people really to build on opportunity. I don't even look at it as, oh my God, here is this. This is a time where you can be at home, plotting and planning the thing that you've been plotting and planning for the last few years, but they never said and pushed the button to do it. Now you at home, the job ain't looking at you every 5 minutes saying what you're doing. You can now make it happen because you got a lot of time on your hands.
Right on. This was the worst of times and it was the best of times. That's an old saying. And you right on, Bear. I think it's also the best time when people start following their damn budget and cooking your own food and save your goddamn money. That to me, no, seriously, because I feel like that's a part of our problem too. This illusion that we've made it enough. My mom and I'm thinking about my Uncle Stanley, blessed in memory. They almost never ate out, Barry. Wow. My uncle did not trust people to cook his food. I'm there, said I love him dearly, blessed in memory, because he's an ancestor now. But he was like, it makes no sense. How can you go eat out and you don't have a savings account? How can you go spend your money and you have no egg nest? And I think even when you look at other groups, they can go to the taqueria because they may have some money, a cushion at home already. It's a luxury to eat out.
Yes.
It is not a necessity.
Talk to them. Tell them.
It's not a necessity. That's you know what I mean? And I think we don't understand necessity versus when you have a want. Like I want to have $1 million, but I only got 20 cents. Like that, you know what I mean? So I need to save to get to the want. Does that make sense, Barry? Let's get to some of these comments real quick. I'm so sorry. So Sister Kiara, girl, you've been on it. She said, agreed. We would, let me make this big because my blind ass. Okay. We would do best to use this time to wean ourselves off the pacifiers, the distractions, and catch up with each other's communities. Yes, she did. And to unite with each other, exchange information inside our technologies.
Listen. The time to get off of daddy daycare is now,
Barry, she said, look at our skill sets as a family.
Let's be perfectly honest.
That's
why me and my brothers said, what we're going to do for our community, for our capacity, we're going to feed them Thursday and Friday. But the other times, me and my brothers, we're going to serve them foods that they can order, so we can keep this economics popping off in our community. Continue to buy and barter with each other. This is a perfect opportunity to be able to lift our black businesses. There are a lot of folks that got the herbs, they got the natural, hair products. All these, they got your toilet paper. This is time to build with your brother and your sister. There is no better time than now. And I think that if we continue to burst into this idea of fear, right? Stop focusing on, to be honest with you, it's no disrespect. Whatever artist that gets the coronavirus, that's not really my issue.
It really ain't, especially when you're on face mask.
This entertainer, that entertainer. I'm more concerned about my people in my circle, my immediate larger family getting that, because I know they don't have the monies or the ability to get service just like these artists that we always want to constantly sell. Oh my God, I can't believe someone. Who cares? Let's worry about what's happening in our community and making sure that we're regulating our community. So if there is such a thing that comes down like martial law, the law is already happening right now. And I would like to say to all of those youngsters that are looking at this as opportunity as well, and not only youngsters, let me back away. All of your scam artists and sneaky hustlers and crooks and criminals, because they're not just all youngsters.
They really not.
If you dare take an opportunity to be as a vulture in these moments, these are the type of people that we outcast out of our community. Because there ain't no time right now to be a vulture and a wolf right now and prey on those who are weak and those who are down. Those are the people that we're going to be able to see and understand in this trying time, whether you believe in it or not. There is a moment that we all have to kick back and we have to relax and we have to build with each other. If they're the ones breaking into the houses, if they're the ones taking from the elderly, if they're the ones scamming their cousin, if they're the ones, saying, hey, I got this idea and taking 5,000 from you or doing whatever, these are the people that have no more recourse in our community that we have to be okay with saying bye, as well as those who are in power that look like us, that if we're asking for assistance, they're not stepping up. These are the people that we can no longer continue to hodl and make excuses for. They got to fucking move. Because if they cannot help in a moment like this, where people like myself and others who don't have as much is trying to figure out a way, I'm going to either inspire, I'm either going to try to provide some method of normalcy for our people at this particular time when we're all kind of panicking. Well, not all of us, but some of us are panicking, and some of us need that sense of motivation of knowing that we're going to get through this. These are the people that we should look at and say, enough is enough. You've got your black pass revoked.
Now, okay, Barry, so hold on. Let me get to some of these comments. And I'm with you because I also tell you this. Shooting range still open. Okay, so Nicole Newman said, right off, she said, black people do not need to get caught up in the distraction as another form of excuse for not doing. This is the perfect time to pull your children in, your family in. Perfect time to bring the black family back in order. This is an opportunity. There will be casualties. Accept it because there is no way around it. Strengthen the black family. Sister Kira goes on to say, we also lack confidence in surviving without the system and the lack of energy to create something new. I am betting on black. We got this. She also said technology created convenience, but necessity is the mother of all invention. You ain't never lied. That's my Schoolhouse Rock song. Mother necessity, what would we be?
Schoolhouse Rock.
I used to love Schoolhouse Rock. Tina says, we as a people have this thing about putting everyone else above our own self-care. Oh, Lord Jesus. It's okay to put yourself first. Take the time to reflect and take care of yourself and your loved ones. Right on, y'all. Right on, Tina.
Yeah.
That's so true. Because I know some people just playing their card now. And I'm going to be flat out honest. Some people have been in America making money off of us forever, treating us like shit. And now that they're under I call it the black code, when people treat you like shit and call you nigga and spit on you or whatever. Now they're paying their dues. But they'll be okay. I think that's a part of paying your dues in America. Because you definitely wasn't helping us when our shit was going down.
Yeah, I mean, like banks will be okay, because everybody is not going to go take all their money out the bank. The airline people are going to be okay. Gas is going to be okay. I mean,
Gas
Amazon's
is
still
going
making
down,
money in
Barry.
stock. Walmart's still making money. You know what I mean? I just don't. I just really think that in these trying times, we don't need to get so far outside of what opportunity looks like. And I think that, and again, when we're talking about opportunity, we're not talking about being slaves to the moment or just doing things that's outside of your character. We're just talking about opportunity that helps you. I mean, like, what a great time to be able to reevaluate, even though the landlord is going to be knocking on your door on the 5th talking about you owe some rent. The fact that I can reevaluate, do I even need to be in this apartment? Do I got that cousin? Do I got that best friend that maybe I can go ahead and tag team with them and get an apartment together so we can both help each other maybe get a house within 2 years? There's so many things that we can.
But we gotta be together, Barry. We want to be together. We gotta be able to put that shit aside, because you cannot build something with people who don't value saving the way you do. Because I've had that experience where people feel like, oh, you single, this is the time. You single and you make more money than me. Don't be counting my motherfucking money. You bring yours to the table, because that's the hardest thing about building with your people, is that we assume on other people's shit and then we don't try to pull our weight. So say if you don't have as much money, I'm just saying, but you can still get your work done.
Yeah.
You make up for it in other ways, but some of us have never come from that, Barry, so we don't understand. That may mean you may have to paint more, or, you know what I mean? We don't really get that part.
Well, I you know what, sis? To me, I guess the reason why I'm also not panicking, I'm not complaining, I'm just speaking the truth to power and just kind of elevating my people, is like, I've been through this already. When we talk about the recession, as a father at that particular time, in the moments where my daughter was, going into high school, like, I was hit hard. My Deja was, I want to say, 7th and 8th grade, going into high school pretty soon, and I couldn't go to the bars because I couldn't afford it, and I was still wanting to go to the bars. I couldn't go to the clubs because I couldn't afford it, and I still wanted to go to the clubs. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't go to eat at the nice restaurants, and I wanted to go eat at the nice restaurants, and I couldn't. Right? I was homeless. My car got repoed. You understand what I'm saying? And still out of that, in 2008, I had this idea. I said, you know what? I'm going to start this mentorship program called Voice of the Youth. In 2008, where my whole life was falling apart, had nothing. I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. Changing a lifestyle to another lifestyle. And now, as I've gone through the treacherous parts of the recession, and even not when the recession was climbing out in 2011 to 2013, still going down through these places where I didn't see the light at the tunnel, I kept on building. I kept on believing in myself, even though sometimes I felt there was nothing left in me. I was motivated. I said, you know what? My daughter cannot see me break. I can't see me break. And I've been through the tragedies of learning about my ancestors and what they've gone through, understanding the crack epidemic in the moments where we lived through that, understanding these things. I've seen this. Even though people are saying, well, you could have still did A, B, and C, I couldn't because I couldn't afford it, nor did I have the mentality to want to do any of these things. I didn't feel appropriate with myself. So I feel that a lot of us Black people are really battle tested. I think sometimes we forget about the struggles of where we are and how we got to the place where we are so we can enjoy some of the better fruits of our labor. Bring yourself back to that and understand, if you made it through that, you're going to make it through this. Because trust me, you still had people celebrating while I was down in the dumps. Now, guess what? We're all together. You know what I'm saying? Nobody can go to the club. Nobody can go to the movie theater. It's a little bit better. It's hard. It hurts when you are looking at everybody doing the things and you can't do shit. Now, everybody's all in the same situation. You can only go to grocery stores. If your business ain't essential, you can't open it up. So we're all kind of in the same place, position-wise. Now, economic-wise, it's a little different, but take yourself back to that moment where you struggled to get to the place where you're at right now. I'm taking myself back to then and how hungry I was to get out of that. how focused I was to get out of that, how humble when I finally got to the place that I am at right now, how humble I am and how proud I can be able to sit there and say to my sister and put out with my brothers, like, hey, we're going to feed these folks. Because it's one thing when we feed people when it's Christmas, it's Thanksgiving. This is a time that we start doing the feeds. Put your gloves on, put your mask up, stay safe, get your hand sanitizer. Shouts out to MJ for the hand sanitizer. She got me a bag. And do the right thing in the time, but don't clam up and hide. Go back to your greatest struggle when you thought the world was just you and the struggle. That's going to help you get through this moment right now, because we are all struggling in some kind of way. I hate that I can't be with my sister, but you know what we decided? The other day, we said, let us be an example to our people to practice social distancing. It ain't because a man got us doing whatever and controlling our mind. No, it's because we understand the levels of what our people need to see as real models to show that we're going to be a part of the practice, but we're still going to be able to solidify ourselves. We'll continue to giving the information and inspiring our people. And so hopefully this is inspiring our people.
Right on. Nicole, Nicole is my cousin. She listening from Philly. You so right. She said, growing up with parents who lived and survived the Depression, you already know how to survive the national situation. Are you willing, my screen just jumped, to put forth the strength from within is another question. Right on. And you're so on. I guess for me, Barry, I have always been that person because I come from a lineage where people always sacrifice. When the crack era was raging, I worked and I took care of people's kids that weren't mine. That's why I don't have children, because I feel like if you can't afford them, don't have them. So I've always been responsible. And so for me, it's kind of like, I think, again, it keeps going back to necessity versus your wants. And a lot of shit we're talking about giving up are wants.
Yeah.
Don't mean shit. It's like you'll be fighting to buy some tennis shoes that it costs 10 cents to make in Indonesia, and you done spent $400 on some kicks. Yeah. That's a want. You could have used that $400. You could have got some Payless Pro Wings if they still making those, and could have saved that money. Yeah, I think they went out of business. I think Payless went business. But all I'm saying to you is, I think what we're trying to get people to understand, and this is a hard part. I'm gonna be bringing on a couple of my friends that are psychologists to talk about how do we make it through this mentally, because what we're talking about here, Barry, is mental blocks.
Yeah.
Black people have a lot of mental blocks. We have this need of wanting to feel like we're in a place that we're not.
Yeah.
You know, we want to act like, oh, I've made it. Ain't nothing worse than seeing a black business. I remember this from the 90s. Once I went to go see, back in the day, I used to listen to all of those different lecturers and Dr. Clark and all. I mean, I got a chance to meet those great people who are now ancestors. And I remember them saying most times black businesses fail because we'll go into a business and act like we've already been in business for 20 years and just spending beyond what we have. And when you go into, like, say, anybody else's store and they just open, you know that they just opened. They're not walking around with a mink on and rings on every goddamn finger and, you know, walking like, yeah, we made it. I'm the owner of this establishment, and you can't even make payroll. So we got to get out of this mental mindset of what we think it means to be rich. This idea, this wanting to feel some kind of way. That's why we're suffering, because we were in this place of wanting to feel that we've made it or wanting to look like we're okay, and we're not okay.
Yes.
That's the best way I can put it.
No, you're 100%. You're 100% right, and I think that we're being stripped. You know, it's finally, you know, the popular kid that gets out of high school that finds out he's not as popular as he really thought he was, you know, or she.
That
you know
part.
What I mean? It just is a reality. And that's why a lot of our young people suffer because of that transition, right? They transition from high school to what? And that's why I hate the fact that there's an age of 18 that calls you an adult, because you're not an adult. And I think that adulting is hitting a lot of people right now.
Adulting, I love it.
Oh man, no, it's the truth though. And but I feel like, again, if we take this in more of a positive note, we can do a lot more for ourselves moving forward. Think about the investments we can make. I mean, to the people out there, find that 2 or 3 people that you really trust and got some money, and say, hey, I think it's time for us to start, you know, creating an investment team. because these are the kind of things when we think about the recession that's going to end up happening. People are going to be outside and outsourced and things of that nature, and folks are going to come into these communities that were like, probably wouldn't live there, but then guess what? That whole community gonna change. It happened. We've
every
seen
year,
it.
every 10 years,
so
15 years.
The direction where it's going, I said this year, you know, one of my goals was to get, you know, a property. So now this right here, it helps me out because now the housing is going to be at an all-time not all-time low, but it's going to be lower than it was before, as well as they've fixed the interest rates up, because America knows without the small people, it's not going to be able to function. So we all know that we're powerful because we rejuvenate this whole society and the economics. So I think that moving forward, we have to know the value of us as people. And this is a time when you start understanding the value. Going into these relationships, don't just do the quarantine rony relationships because someone needs a place to sleep. Don't, if they was gone before, don't bring them back now because it's just a ploy.
That's
don't
real
bring
talk,
the
Barry.
back to the home. Whether it's a man or a female.
That's real talk.
You have to be able to understand what this moment is. This moment is the biggest challenge and test for everyone that is trying to deliver something else besides mediocrity. And I am not trying to be mediocre, I'm trying to be extraordinary. So this is something that I think, to me, again, the system is a system we know. That's why the Republicans and the Democrats right now are fighting over the stimuli package. And they're fighting over it because one wants to give us, the Republicans, from the language that I've read, wants to give a package where, of course, the corporations and bigger businesses will benefit. Another wants to sit there and say, we want to give a little bit more money. We don't want to make it monthly. And at the same time, we want to make it monthly, And at the same time, we don't want big corporations and big businesses to be bailed out in such a way that the poor people or the people that don't have as much don't get anything.
And they shouldn't get no damn money.
To where we take it from what the media says and we believe that one team is doing something opposite of the other. And that's the most frustrating part about how this all works, because folks that we vote for, folks that we're giving our money to tax-wise to make the right decisions in a pandemic that we're in right now, they're not even making right decisions for the people. So this should also, again, tell the people that we cannot rely on those people. We got to rely on us. And if this doesn't open up your eyes on devaluing government compared to more or less valuing yourself, I don't know what's going to wake you up. Because to me, there should be no issue with writing a check. I say 5,000, not 1,500, not 1,000, not 12, 5,000 monthly. If you're snapping up and talking about trillions of dollars, just like that, and you're talking about, well, we're in a deficit, we owe this to that person, and da-da-da-da-da. So they can create the money when they want to. Or, better yet, just say, you know what, we're going to put a hold without a penalty. We're going to put a hold and give you guys 2 months of no mortgage, no rent, and utilities. We're not talking about putting that bill in a backfold to when I do have to come pay it, because that's what they're doing right now. They're saying, okay, well, you can sign this, and some states are doing it. You can sign this, and we'll get you on a rebound. No, I don't want to have to pay in June $3,000, right, of a rent bill, because I should at least have a month or two to say, I'm in hardship, let me move forward. And let me be able to just say, hey, everybody was in this moment, no one was really working, let's navigate. So there's always just a fuck show going on when it comes down to our government and when it comes down to rich and poor at all times. That's why myself, I'm just going to continue to pay my bills in a proper time, because I got some, I got some surplus, because I don't want to have to deal with the ripple effects. And that's one thing that we have to be focused on as well. Not only the build part, but the ripple effects of what happens after. What are they going to do that's going to make what is going on right now normal? Normal can't be curfew. Normal can't say to everybody, hey, you need to get this shot. That can't be normal. So we have to be very close and paying attention on what they're going to try to trigger with us. And that's why I say don't panic, because as we panic, we make wrong decisions. That's what happened after 9/11. We haven't been able to get out of gas price gouge since 9/11. As soon as they said war, weapons of mass destruction, we're like, yeah, do whatever you have to do to save us. Yes, and now we have high gas prices. That somehow, some way is going down slowly but surely in this crisis. So it's always an end result of some government strategic planning, right? We just have to be very clear and very focused when they pull the wool over our eyes, that we're just not celebrating the fact that we can go outside again, go to bars, go to malls, go to work, watch our sports, go to the strip bar, you know what I'm saying? Go to church and praise. We have to be ready to watch the hook.
Well, I think that the other hard thing about that is, I just wish it was so simple, Barry, but I know it's not. Because if they gave a stimulus package, those corporations are going to have that money back any goddamn way. Because it's what we do with the money that's the problem. That's the sad part. I mean, and now they're going to save the money and buy themselves a house. Like, I think that's the absolute sad part.
A lot of people, when they get the money, it's not going to empower them. It's going to go right back to them anyway. And the simple fact, shouts out to all the healthcare workers again. Shouts out to all the people.
Even the security guards, people at the hospital securing people.
Security guards.
Garbage people collecting your trash.
That are in the front line. Firefighters, everything else of that nature. Shouts out to all those people, the CVS workers, that are constantly having to be in this grunt.
But basically making sure everybody gets toilet paper. You can buy 2 rolls.
The simple fact that we here in one of the richest countries in the world, that we value entertainment more than we value people, we don't have enough medical supplies and medical equipment to deal with this virus.
Well, check it. I heard that.
Asinizing.
So, Barry, I heard that the ventilators they need may have to come from China.
That's crazy. And this is the same virus that our president says is a China virus. And we're going to have to go get ventilators from them? That's crazy. That don't even make no sense. And that's why, for all those people that are Trump supporters and want to believe Trump has a greater plan, when you watch this idiot, that's why it's almost kind of like, y'all, and to me, we've said it before, I don't mind another year of Trump, another 4 years of Trump, only because if that's going to make my people learn to get off,
that part,
Sister said, the pacifier, I will rather have that than us be in this make-believe time and this idea of thinking
people who like
they're going to save us. Because if anybody was going to save us, they would have sent that check, say, hey, check this out. We'll argue about it later. People need, or just make the call and say, guess what? Y'all got 2 months for free. I think people might take the 2 months for free of all bills and take out the money, because here's the reality. How much is $1,500 anyway? $1,500 in California, that can't even pay rent. You know what I'm saying? In some places, it can't pay rent for a 1-bedroom. So,
man, but what would be dope though? What would be so awesome, Barry, if they took this time. This is the sad part. If they took this time and say, let's make sure everybody over 35 who has been paying their rent straight for 10 years, let's make sure they get to buy a house. No, seriously. Like you have a straight track record of at least 10 years of paying your rent, and it's all good. You should be able to see shit like that, like real tangible shit. But they're not gonna do that because landowners, have a little bit more say. And so you can't make sure that's just been the history of America. Landowners definitely always have a say in some things to a degree, to a point. That's why there's levels to this shit. That's why there are levels. But I also think, Barry, poor people got to stand up for themselves. They can't depend on, some people going to get mad at me because this is what I've been figuring out, Barry. We have a lot of educated black folks, but they're looking out for their position and wanting to just be next to white people. Very few of them really go to battle for us. Because they're just trying to be at the table to be disruptors, but a disruptor never got me shit. A doer has helped me to get shit because they made me a doer. So, water seeks its own level. And so I feel like this is a different kind of battle. It's not as simple as we just going to make white people feel guilty. There's just some shit we should have been able to do any goddamn way. First, we said education was the way. We got more degrees probably than any other goddamn group that's here, including the Asian people, but we don't have half the shit they have. No disrespect to people getting education. It's beautiful. But if you don't take your education and build shit, we're in Sacramento. We don't even have a clinic that's ran for us by us. We did at one time, but another nigga dismantled that. So, you know what I mean? With her education. And so, I just feel like there is something wrong with us. We can't even almost be at the table with other people because we don't have the mindset of let's do for self and let me consider my people first. Don't throw us in with other groups because we're not like no other group that's here.
Yeah.
We open the door for every group and those groups walk on us but never consider us.
You're right.
I wonder what conversations Latinos are having, and if we are a part of their conversation. I wonder what conversation Asians are having. Shit, because they're still building their bank over there on Freeport Boulevard. I wonder in their mind, are they thinking, how can we help the African Americans?
Wait, that's their bank they're building on Freeport?
That's their bank. That's the Asian people bank. They're just remodeling it. Okay? So I just wonder with all the other groups,
Yeah, they're remodeling that place.
Huh?
No, I said they're remodeling that. I thought it was another.
They got like five banks right there on that Freeport Boulevard in Green Haven. I'm just saying, and so I don't know, Barry. I don't know.
Everything you're saying is right, sis. I mean, and that's
it's like what do you do with obsolete farm equipment? What the fuck do you do? You can't leave it sitting in the yard and it get rusted when it rains. What do you do with us?
Yeah, and I think that's why I've said, and I've challenged folks, leadership. In the background, I've said to them, well, I know that there's certain different things that's happening throughout the city. I said, but there needs to be something specifically for Black people and small Black businesses. I've been having these conversations because I already know that if there's a lot of small businesses here in Sacramento, a lot of them. And we could probably have on our fingers and toes how many Black small businesses there are, right? And how many startups there are. So my reality is that a lot of that money is going to go to try to continue to help those folks that kind of got the flow. So the little grant that's happening, that's $1 million, how much of that money is really going to go spread into the Black communities? I sat there and I said, and I spoke, I said, I feel that we have to have our own fund just strictly to develop some stuff for Black people because we, again, whether it's Katrina, whether it's 9/11, whether it's a 3-strike law, whatever, a tragedy or systematic oppression, whatever it is, laws being changed, we've always seemed to screw ourselves. And that's why we're saying this is not the time to screw ourselves. It's a time to actually build foundationally and challenge leadership on all angles to make sure that there's things done specifically for us without it being a way, nah, because folks gradually that are going to be affected are going to be folks like ourselves.
Because I'm not going to lie, I understand people need to have their school loan paid off, but for those who didn't go, how about I just give you the check that you would have given me?
Yes.
Because I don't really give a fuck about that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest. You owe me some straight up cash. And so I just feel like, I just think I'm just so tired of Black folks. It's like we ride the 8 ball and we enjoy it. Sometimes it feels like some of us enjoy just begging and scuffling and y'all don't think about us and people of color. Meanwhile, we ain't getting shit. Black ain't even in the fucking rainbow for people. So, like, how do we get, ain't no brown in that shit, ain't no Black in that shit? I mean, I look at this and be like, y'all, come on, this is the perfect time for you to just get it in. Yeah. Just get it in. Don't make no announcement, just go get it in.
Yeah, get it in. And I think that a lot of us are going to be able to put it, like I said, shouts out to all the food vendors.
Right on.
And this is just not the restaurants, but just the takeout, the moms and pops, the pop-ups, some of the bigger chains out here. I mean, they're really making a way. Like I said, I'm looking at the opportunity. African Marketplace, unfortunately, was shut down this past week, and we wanted to push through, but the landlord and then the governor was like, it can't be more than 10 people. And we know there's gonna be more than 10 people moving and grooving, and we want folks to feel safe, so we want to do our part. But I for sure was making sure that I was doing deliveries from Saturday to Sunday. I wasn't going to stop my train. I wasn't going to sit there and say, hey, hold up, let me get back to it. I'm looking at this as opportunity, because guess what? All this is going to do is help boost up my food truck, or my my storefront for my food component. Unfortunately, as a small business, and this is again why we discuss and we talk about having our own. I have a thrift store with my business partner, Passion Bailey, and we've had to close down our thrift store. We've had to close our thrift store for now a week. And so the bill is still going to be up April 1st to pay the kind of the things that we have to pay, right? And we circulate enough money to pay for ourselves as well as to pay for our storefront. And that's, let's say we accumulate at least $2,500 a month. That's money that we're not going to be able to get, and that's going to be us having to take from our surplus.
Well, you should be able to. Our store. You should be able to in Sacramento apply for that loan money that the city said they have for you.
No, what I'm saying is we've already done that. We've done it. But here's the problem. As I said, again, earlier I said, there are a lot of there are a lot of small businesses in Sacramento. And black businesses probably, on our hands and feet, probably make up all of those. It's going to be very competitive because it's only $1 million.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not that much money. So I said to some folks, I said in the background, what we need to do is have a fund that's focusing on black businesses by itself. This is something that we should be doing because there are some, I guarantee you, the Asian community, the Latino community, they are preparing and knowing how to do what they do. They're going to make sure everything continues to run fluidly. With us, it's going to be a little bit different. So with me and my business partner having this thrift store that was coming on its first year of being open in April, matter of fact, instead of us celebrating it, instead of us being able to get our biggest probably sales of our year, because we're going to have a tremendous sale on our grand opening anniversary, we're going to be shut down. So for me, I'm not going to complain about it. We're going to make do because, we're going to make it happen. But it would be great that if leadership considered looking at if we're talking about inclusive economics, this is the time that we're talking about it, that it now needs to funnel into the black communities that we're talking about, lack this, that, and the other. So this is kind of the conversation that I'm having on the background to make them be forced to say, well, if we're talking about that, then this is when it should be implemented without it even being hesitation because you said it during campaigning. Now it's time to deliver on it because it's needed right now.
I ain't disagreeing with you. I agree with you on that, Barry. Ditto, ditto, ditto. I just know that we always in the middle of some shit because
we constantly play Moni in the middle and we got to get out of there. Yeah, Moni in the middle.
Where you at? That's so true. I'm just saying. Because people working their plan, Barry. They is working their plan. And
for sure.
I'm just,
For sure. And if you're not prepared and you haven't been prepared for it, I mean, you're going to get caught in the crossfire. Like the recession last year, some years back, I wasn't prepared at all. This time, I'm prepared. This time, I know what I know. This time, you know what I'm saying? Malachi, I need you to hear me. I see you on it. I'm talking about inclusive economics. We need to talk to these people about that, so I need to holler at my people.
But where that weed money at? Is that going to be able to help us rebuild?
Yeah, and I'm just saying, we need to talk about that like right now. This is the time they need to go ahead and throw some extra funds. But here's the thing about it.
Maybe they can cancel that new tank because maybe we can afford that police tank.
The middle ground isn't always helpful. Go ahead, sis.
Maybe they don't need that police tank since we ain't got no money in the city anyway.
Or you know how ironic the police tank got bought, right? And then all this is happening. That's ironic than a mother effer, ain't it? So I'm just saying. Some folks know more than some folks know, right?
That's old people go.
It's ironic. So Malachi, we got to get organized. I mean, but here's the situation. It's like we continually talk about the same thing, right? Organize, mobilize, organize. When are we going to stop? And when are we going to start really doing something that just is directly and automatically going to go in effect now? It's all this wait time period. We organize, then we have to wait. And then most of the times we wait, something else happens. You know what I'm saying? So I think that We just have to be able to sit there and say, hey, this is what's been owed, this is what's been promised, this is what we need, and walk out the building just like that. Period. It's stop the time for doing it in a method, in a way where it fits for everyone. Doesn't matter. There are certain needs that black businesses are going to need that are going to be different than other businesses. This is why all of the inclusive economic conversation was being talked about. So now this is a way we pull the card and we start talking about, well, okay, here's what our focus needs to be. There needs to be a separate fund for black-owned businesses that are going to be suffering outside of what Sacramento did and said, here's $1 million for all businesses. I love that. Great. Now, because we've had this major conversation for the last 2 years about inclusive economics, and we understand and identify what it looks like, they know what it is. Now we have to sit there and say, okay, now for black businesses only, this is what we need. Period. Simple.
But Barry, do you
I don't see if we're talking about emergency and how we process when it looks at about inclusive economics, what that looks like. Right now, here's the test fold. Just as what they wanted us to push. They wanted us to push a measure that could support this at this particular time. So this is what we need to be asking for. So I don't know who's asking for it, if they're asking for it, but I'm saying it. That's how it needs to be, articulated. That simple. Thank you for the small businesses, but now we need for the black businesses that we know are more challenged to be able to get a separate fund from that. And if you can get 2 of them, that's awesome. But that's how we have to build it out.
I agree. I think, Malachi, I love the way you just chime in. I think that black people are very organized, Barry. This is just me. I think that we are very organized. I think I don't know what we're organizing for and to do. Like you just gave a plan. We're very organized. Somebody gets shot by the police, we're organized. Our kids get in trouble at school, we organize. We go up, we cuss people out. America was built because we were organized. Let's just be honest.
Okay.
Let's just be honest. But what are we organized for? What do you do after you organize? Okay. Like, what are the marching orders? And I feel like, I'm sorry, just real quick, Barry, hold on before you get there, real quick. All I'm saying is, it's like either we're waiting, because black folks, we can be organized, but it feels like we don't move unless somebody tell us how to move and when to move. And then if we don't like you, then we're not going to move. Mm. We like, okay, I may not like this dude, but his plan is good. Let's just run that fucking plan. I ain't gonna fuck with him. We don't even do that, Barry. We're organized. Black folks, we are probably like some of the most conservative people on the planet. But we don't really work. We don't activate on that shit. We appear to be a certain way, but when it come down to like, hey, we should have all been on this Zoom. You could get 100 people on Zoom. We should be like, hey, like in other communities when this shit happened, they started immediately organizing with each other. We don't do that because maybe, and I gotta say, black people, we got classism. So the real educated Negroes think they got a plan because they work at the school district or they work for the police department. Like we just got we think your position mean you ain't running shit because black folks ain't listening to you. But you supposed to be the leader of us. So my thing is, what do we do after we fucking organize?
I think that when we discussed it last week on the show, I agree on what you're saying, but then I disagree because I feel like we're better mobilized and organized because when I say that, we never really come all together to uniquely say, all right, I don't care if you're in a position of government, I don't care if you're in a position of streets, of teacher, or I don't even care if you're in a position of just a citizen that wants to get shit done. We all are going to flow and say, this is what we need. I think that we are disrupted in that classism correctly because we all think that everyone has a greater and better plan. That's why we have not been organized enough to get the shit that we need get done. That's why we're kind of in this play. Because my thing is like this, if there was any black people sitting at the table when the city came up with this idea of giving funds, I don't know why the question wasn't brought up, or they would have said, well, since we have been talking about inclusive economics for like the last 2 years, shouldn't there be a separate fund for black-owned businesses?
But
let's have that, but there should also be this. I would love to have been in that conversation if that argument ensued, because that's the kind of thing that was being told to us. That was a selling point to us. I was a part of hearing that. Inclusive economics. So you can't sit there and say that the rebellious radical Negro wasn't in the room when he heard. So isn't this the best opportunity? Because we're not going to get enough money from this fund where everybody goes for this money. All small businesses. It's not black. It's all small businesses. How many people are going to get denied?
Barry, that would be racist.
Like, for instance,
Barry, that would be racist. Barry, that would be racist. Now, you know I'm playing the devil's advocate.
There you go.
Now, you know I'm playing the devil's advocate. Because the reason why they get that comfortable Negro, Barry, is to counter you. So having another black person say to Black Barry, hey, that's racist. This is America. We're not the only ones suffering. Look at me. Yeah. We got to make sure. That's why we can't have no goddamn stuff just for black folks. Because we got black people standing there. Their job is to counter you. That's their job, Barry. That's their job. And last thing I checked is that America always respect when you can mobilize the people and get them to do shit. They do not respect talkers. They respect doers. Asian people are fucking doers. Latino people are fucking doers. Black people, we are fucking talkers, and we may do if, I don't know, on shit like if somebody get killed. We're going to be out there. But to talk about buildings and shit, you're not going to see a lot of motherfuckers out there. And I'm just saying, I just know that we're not even having conversations about our kids' education during this fucking time. But we know our kids are at the fucking bottom. We're not even having conversations about, are our kids getting homework? Do they have access to a computer? Are they getting are we really doing that shit? Because we know our kids are doing the worst. Are we looking at really checking in? Hey, do people really have food? Yeah, I guess you can get lunches from school, but what about the shit you eating in your house? Are you learning how to cook some bean soup? Or you learning how to make some rice without the goddamn rice cooker? Like, this is real shit. And so we'll talk a lot, Barry, and I get this, because I always love the way, I think you are like one of our 5-star generals who go in there and get the shit done. But you also need motherfucking all the other different parts to the chess game so we can get this shit in. And with black folks, we either come running to you, Barry, and be like, cuss their ass out, get on their ass, Barry, and you get in there because that's your motherfucking job. But the part we don't get is the other people who's supposed to be doing their job. If you are an educator, why I ain't heard you mobilize the other black educators and get on a goddamn Zoom call and be like, hey, what's going on around the city with the kids? How can we make sure our kids get what they need? I don't fucking see that, Barry. And Sacramento has some of the most educated Negroes who know every motherfucking thing but can't get 2 sticks together to make one fucking spark. It's embarrassing. And you know I ain't lying, Barry. It's fucking embarrassing. And then we're going to be like, of color. Shut the fuck up. All the other colors are taking care of their shit. They don't bleed into black. Because they know black don't really do shit but complain all day. You know, and the few of us who do get some work done, this is the other thing, Barry. People love to put you up there as the fighter, and then when it comes to some handing out shit, they don't call Barry and be like, hey, Barry, thank you for helping me out. Let me make sure you get your shit. It's kind of like, well, no, I'm going to be the alternative to Barry. Like, what the fuck? You didn't even make sure that happened.
Yeah.
It's because he was in there raising the energy that we could even be at this table.
Yeah. You're right.
Drink some water. I'm about to choke up in here.
Everything that you go, I need you to drink your water, man. Everything you're saying is spot on. And I think that, again, this is the opportunity for folks, educators, to hear us out very clearly. If there's a time right now, if we got this kind of technology, if you can start saying for those families that have laptops, so those families that can sit there and connect on social media because they can figure out a way to make sure the interactions with some of the students.
I got six laptops, Barry. I got 6 extra laptops. I save my laptops as I get new ones, and I get them cleaned off.
Yeah.
So I have those. I mean, I'm saying, like, how many of us have extra laptops we know we're not going to use again? Are we going to let people use those so their kids can do homework and not be watching fight videos?
Yeah, it's time. It's time to educate. And here's the saddest part, what I've seen. I still see kids outside not practicing social distancing. I still see kids out there, they look at that. Can somebody give me some rice, some flowers? I'm trapped in the house while I see it. Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
Look at him, put a smile on your face. He saw that rage in you. He calm my wifey down. You know what I mean?
There you, Barry.
But what I'm saying is, I still see kids out there
Right on.
that are playing basketball.
Yeah.
We're not saying kids are playing football and just throwing a football. Not saying playing football, just throwing the ball around and maybe sanitizing that ball or whatever, sanitizing their hands. But we got kids actually playing full-on physical, I'll touch you basketball. And
right.
To me, that speaks volumes to our parents and their parenting commitments. It's one thing to go out, have your child go outside, but let's practice the appropriate things for our children to do, because some of us cannot afford to get this virus.
We really
Let's
can't.
be very clear. Some of us cannot
afford
to get this virus.
People.
But I am going to challenge the educators, because you can't expect certain people, and this is what I think some of our community have to understand. You and I cannot be the all. We can't be the chefs. We can't be the teachers. We can't be the activists. We can't be the revolutionary builders. We can't be the entrepreneurs. Even though we fit all those hats,
right
we can't be all things. And everyone else just sit around and think that, okay, well, I'm just going to just make light. If you are a part of a book club, part this in and say, I need to go have a straight, strong book list, and maybe even have some books that I'm going to go deliver or give to some of the people, or put it out so they can go ahead and go on the internet, find it on some kind of website. You know, if you are an educator, put out some curriculum.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to party and dance with D-Nice and all that. That's great, but it's also time for us
to TikTok all goddamn day.
You know what I mean? And these are the kind of things that we have to do, because everybody has a purpose, and I think have strong abilities to utilize those. And if you are a person like ourselves that want to continue not only to entertain, but throw knowledge of self, you know what? Step that game up, because, you know, we'll probably do another show sometime in the week going forward, just to kind of make sure our people's spirits are up and keep everyone up to date, because it's all necessary right now. Everything that you're doing, if you're exercise time, you can still go out with your kids, take walks. You don't necessarily have to go out there and go play in the park, but take walks. Have the ability to start planning with your family. There's so much time for us to educate and us for not be blinded. Educate yourself about what elections are and who we need to, unelect after this is all said and done. But there has to be time where we take measures and steps for us, for me, and my idea, to be a lot more organized in a way where the organization that we have is more influential, and it's just not us being okay that 2 Negroes instead of 20 Negro businesses get something, because that's not really going to work. There ain't that many black businesses, small black businesses out there, so I don't think that a fund of maybe $5 million would be so hard to come out and say, hey, this is what we're going to do for small black businesses, a $5 million stimulus package. And on top of that, you got to also remember, here's the step. Let's be very clear.
Right on.
That stimulus package that they're giving for the city, you still got to pay that shit back. So let's be mindful that it ain't just some giveaway money. Nigga, you got 90 days till after the fact to pay that back. So if I got $2,500, I got 90 days to pay it. So if we're going to this pandemic for however long, it's going to take a bit of time to recharge my business for folks to get right back to being charged, because folks are still going to have the residual effects of being locked down for so long and still kind of be paranoid about actually catching it. Because remember, this don't mean the disease is away, the virus is gone. This just means that they have the antibiotics and ways to combat it. And then we have to also look at the price gouging that antibiotic, that vaccine, that medicine is going to be. Someone is going to make trillions of dollars of that, because the fear of that is already here. And then the idea, I know Dr. Pan will be yelling about vaccinate for this, and that's some other shit that we can't have happen. So let's be very clear and very mindful. It's great that the city is doing that, but it would be even better that if you gave us a stimulus package and we don't have to pay that.
Right on. So Barry, let me just say this as we get ready to wrap up. We got about 3-4 more minutes left, but I want to challenge anybody that's on this line. If you're really talking about organizing, if you got a plan that you think you want to roll out and need some help flushing out, we need to do this shit like yesterday. And I always just say you just got to keep putting those things out there. And I think a lot of us come from really great people, whether we know them or not, that we know we are from a people who survived everything America has thrown at us.
Yes, ma'am.
That's in our DNA. So we can do this shit, but that means we got to come out of our motherfucking bullshit of people telling us this is what it looks like. No, we know what it's gonna look like when we get down and do the goddamn work.
You're right.
That's all I'm saying. Anything you want to say to wrap up, Barry?
I totally agree. Our DNA is survival, and like I say, for me, don't waste my time with something that you're not going to waste your time in as well. Don't waste my time. If you're not prepared to take it to the next level, don't call me thinking about an idea. I need you to be able to be here, ready to implement, because this time is very valuable. And this is also a time and a moment, I think, that we can also see how we don't necessarily always have as much time as we think that we believe we have. So if you want to talk about you're going to wait for that vacation, maybe speed that vacation up. Maybe go ahead and take that venture and do that investment kind of now and don't wait till later. Because if you, as a Black entrepreneur, and I'm speaking to those who have that spirit in them, if you're waiting for the perfect time to start, I'm saying that you are not worried about winning and making your own living, because there's no perfect start. Just start. Business is not about perfect timing. It's really just start. But if you really want to know if there's a perfect time, right damn now. So, that being said, family, we are going to be feeding folks at 2450 Meadowview Road, Thursdays and Fridays from 3 to 7. 3 Black chefs. Shouts out to Chef Mike, Chef Will. And right now what we're doing is, if folks want to go ahead and, support and donate monies, what I'm saying, we go ahead, send a cash after Barry Axios. I'm not saying you have to, but if you want to, because what I'm going to do is see what some of the bigger wigs are talking about. But at the end of the day, if no one puts anything up, it's going to come out of our own pockets, and we're okay with that. But if you want to support that, of course, Cash App Barry Axios, a little donation, and it helps us feed a bunch of families. We're going to try to feed at least 200 plus on both days, and then we're going to be doing it next week as well. And we're going to keep on trying to provide some source of normalcy in these unnormal times, because I don't want folks to start thinking in their mind that this is the end. This is not the end again. No. I'm going to say this is the beginning. This is opportunity knocking at your door. Open it up and see what it is.
Liberation is here, family, and it is you. Peace.